Welcome to Canadian Justice. I'm Christine Van Gyn, and today we're talking about multi-level marketing, also known as network selling. Now, if you're like me, every once in a while you'll get a message online from an old acquaintance who's suddenly and strangely interested in checking in on you, only to find out after a brief conversation that they're really interested in selling you something. Multi-level marketing or network selling is a form of direct selling using non-salaried workers. These workers make revenue from selling a product, for example, supplements, jewelry, makeup, clothing, or kitchen supplies. But they also earn money from commissions based on purchases made by other sellers who they've recruited to the business. The business model is used by some well-known companies with beloved products, and I've purchased products that I've liked through direct selling. But it can also be used by unscrupulous business people and morph into a pyramid scheme that takes advantage of people, especially women. For example, when the focus of the business becomes less on the sale of products and more on the recruitment of people. Here today to talk about the legal and ethical business issues around this topic are three experts. Michael Weinberger is a lawyer with Siskins LLP. Dr. Derek Hasse is an assistant professor of marketing emeritus at the Haskayne School of Business. And Kristen Matthews is from the Better Business Bureau. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Professor Hasse, I'd like to get your perspective on the definition I gave at the beginning on multi-level marketing or network selling. Is there anything you'd like to add to that description?
Yeah, a couple of points of clarification, perhaps. And I think the one thing is, using the term workers, workers can be taken as almost a synonymous term to an employee. And what I think is really important in direct selling and in network marketing is to appreciate that these are independent business owners, they're sales contractors, they're not employees of a firm. I think that's the first thing that I would say. And another thing is, it's not about when the emphasis changes from selling products to recruiting. The whole key here about what differentiates legitimate network marketing businesses and direct selling businesses from what might be pyramid schemes is where any compensation is actually paid for recruiting versus the sale of products. And legitimate businesses are all about the sale of the beloved products that you talked about. That's the focus. So the rest of it is about a compensation plan, but it really is about the focus of selling products.
And Mr. Weinberger, anything you want to add to about how these businesses work?
No, I think Dr. Hasse hit the nail on the head there when he described them as independent distributors. The one thing I would like to add, though, is that though we like to paint MLM businesses with the same brush, they're all unique in their own way. So this means, in practice, unique ways of paying their participants, unique ways of having unique organization structures and unique ways of marketing. So we have to, when we analyze this, we have to look at each company in their own light.
So, Ms. Matthews, is there anything you'd want to add about this business model? How would you explain to our viewers what exactly is multi-level marketing or network selling?
Yes, I think it's definitely been nailed on the head by Dr. Hasse and Mr. Weinberger. But one thing I would like to add, as you mentioned, we do see a lot of MLMs, as we will refer to them as their abbreviated name. We do see them selling, like you said, jewelry, cosmetics, a lot of health and dietary supplements. And this is typically because these can be sold to regular customers in frequent intervals as well. So that is typically why you will see multi-level marketing companies selling somewhat of the same product, is because they can sell them to regular customers in very frequent intervals.
Yeah, Mr. Weinberg, I wanted to ask you about that. Are there certain types of businesses that or industries that this business model works best for?
Yeah, so MLMs come in many shapes and many sizes. Some are very big, some are very small. There's some small ones that are very successful that are only 3 levels deep. When there are some that are ginormous multinational companies whose stock are traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Some MLMs we know very well, like Tupperware. Some we know the name, but don't even know they have an MLM branch. So for example, Swarovski or The Body Shop.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, so, and as Ms. Matthews pointed out, that MLMs typically sell, the traditional kitchen knives, soaps, and lotions. But then they also go into more cutting edge products like cryptocurrencies. I've even seen an MLM that sells adult entertainment products. So
We have to get to a commercial break, but we will get back into it after we come back.
sure.
Welcome back to Canadian Justice, where we're discussing multi-level marketing. Now, Ms. Matthews, I want to turn to you about what are the different risks and benefits around getting involved in multi-level marketing. I know at the Better Business Bureau, you get a lot of inquiries about this business model. What do you advise people?
Yes, so we do definitely get a lot of inquiries about multi-level marketing opportunities and whether they're legitimate or not. So I think that's the first thing is you need to understand if this is a legitimate multi-level marketing opportunity or if it actually is a pyramid scheme. So there are a few questions you want to ask if you are being contacted. Some of the benefits, and you'll see this a lot in multi-level marketing when they are marketing to people. They'll use buzzwords like be your own boss, work flexible hours, start your own business. So for a lot of people, that can be very enticing, especially, single moms or stay-at-home moms where they want to spend more time with their family. So for somebody like that, it could be a legitimate opportunity to make some extra income from the comfort of their own home, working these flexible hours. But you do just need to be aware of how that MLM operates and if it is actually operating as a legal multi-level marketing opportunity, or if it is kind of running the line of a pyramid scheme.
Professor Hasse, same question for you. What would you say some of the risks are of this business model for people interested in pursuing it versus the benefits?
Yeah, for a legitimate company, there are almost no risks. And the benefit here is that a sample kit, for example, for an average MLM or network marketing company might be $99.
And what do you mean by a sample kit? What does that mean?
To find yourself in being in an ability to be able to sell Tupperware or nutraceuticals or some other products, you would receive a sample kit so that you have some products to show other people and explain the benefits to them. It may be, if it was, for example, a housewares cooking company, they would give you some products so that you could start having in-home cooking demonstrations and other things. But for $99, that's a pretty low risk opportunity. It's not like you're having to lay out thousands of dollars for inventory. Most organizations today will ship directly to your customer. So as an independent business owner, you don't have to take possession of inventory. You may not even have to handle cash in any way, shape, or form. And that $99 sample kit in many companies is actually refundable. So, if you find that this is not what you thought it was going to be, there really is no risk in that regard. Also, if you think about the amount of time it might take somebody to set up their own web page, if they were going to start their own business, there's costs associated with that are assumed by the network marketing companies to be able to help get you started in business. And so on the risk side, it's very, very low. And what I would say in conjunction with what Kristen and Michael have said is, legitimate businesses present themselves as legitimate businesses. They participate in organizations which are interested in the support and protection of consumers and consumer advocacy, as well as the organization of member companies. Like in the United States, they might be a member of the Direct Selling Association, or in Canada, the Direct Sellers Association. If they're from England, they may be a part of the World Federation of Direct Sellers Associations. So, they do everything they possibly can to present and act like a legitimate business. And so for the legitimate firms, very low risk.
So, Mr. Weinberger, that's all a great point. But how do people know the difference between legitimate or not legitimate? What should they be looking for?
Well, there are a few key markers of legitimate multi-level marketing companies. First and foremost, you want to be able to look for an income disclosure statement. An income disclosure statement will help prospective participants see how much participants in the multi-level marketing plan actually make.
And where would they get something like that?
Online or in the products or in the pamphlet of the company. Another way to see if it's legitimate or not is if you see promises of luxury yachts, luxury watches, and vacations on the beach. If it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. I think adults need to be adults. They need to look at something squarely and take a step back and say, hey, do I think this is real, or should I take a second guess?
All great observations. When we come back from this commercial break, I want to talk to you, in particular, Mr. Weinberger, about where we get into the difference between where these illegitimate businesses become what's known as a pyramid scheme or pyramid selling, because that's all illegal under the Competition Act in Canada. So when is it that a business morphs from a legitimate one into pyramid selling or pyramid scheme? When we come back, we're going to dig into that. Welcome back to Canadian Justice, where we're talking about multi-level marketing. Now, Mr. Weinberger, I want to ask you about some of the legal issues around businesses like this. So some business models are criticized by people as being a pyramid scheme, which is prohibited under the Competition Act. So what is the difference between a legitimate business and a pyramid scheme under the law?
Great question. Well, without turning our viewers into lawyers, a curse I wouldn't wish upon anyone, there are a few differences. The main one is pyramid schemes focus on recruitment of people, while MLMs focus on the sale of product. But what's most interesting is how the legislation is actually drafted. The way it's drafted in the Competition Act is a pyramid scheme is a multi-level marketing company that goes on to commit certain infractions. So you can have a totally legitimate multi-level marketing company that when they go offside, they become a pyramid scheme. So, for example, when a multi-level marketing company sells too much product to an independent distributor who then can't sell it on to actual customers, they become a pyramid scheme.
And is that called inventory loading? Is that what that's called?
Exactly. Yeah, that's called inventory loading. One way to counteract that is there's legislation that instills buyback guarantees. So the corporate head office has to purchase back product that hasn't actually been sold to consumers. So if you have, again, a legitimate MLM company that doesn't actually do this, they turn into a pyramid scheme.
And what are the penalties for pyramid schemes? Because I think they're pretty significant.
They are severe. You will, if you are operating a pyramid scheme, you will pay a fine and go to jail. It is a very serious crime under not only the Competition Act, but the Criminal Code.
I have a question for you, Professor Hasse. How do businesses ensure that they will be compliant with the Competition Act and against the prohibition against pyramid schemes? If part of the question is where the focus is, if it's on selling product versus recruiting, to some degree you can't necessarily control what your independent business owners or contractors are doing. How do the businesses prohibit that type of thing? And how do they create incentives that make sure they stay on side with focusing on selling product instead of focusing on recruitment?
Yeah, so I think the important thing here is, and Michael, my apologies to you for this language, but it's follow the money. You know, the reality is you will do what makes sense relative to how you are compensated. And if there's no compensation provided by your firm for recruiting of people, and the only way to make money is that a customer has purchased something, not a distributor purchasing something, but an actual customer purchasing something, then there's no gray area. There's no issues. And you know, one of the nuances in all of this is there are certain types of businesses that have had success and then struggled in this particular industry. And that would be things like in the fashion industry, when we talk about clothing, because one of the difficulties is how do you have fall, spring, summer, and winter fashions to be able to show people if you don't actually have some inventory? And so, you know, that's been one of the product categories that has really sort of struggled in the network marketing space, because, you know, think about your average retail store. They have to have the fashion there for you to be able to buy it. And, if they don't have the fashion, you can't buy it. And if you don't have the inventory, can somebody try it on? And so that's one of these gray areas where it's difficult. It's not about trying to load up distributors or people in any way. It's just, do we have enough product to be able to represent to people?
Ms. Matthews, we've got about a minute, so I want to get you in on this question. A lot of those industries that Professor Hasse just mentioned are female-oriented industries. And in my experience, a lot of these multi-level or network selling businesses are targeted to women. What do you have to say about that? Is that intentional, or is there something inherent about the model that is designed to appeal to women?
I think at first it started out as more of an inherent kind of appeal to women, but I think now that multi-level marketing and pyramid schemes have become increasingly sophisticated and more popular, I think that now this audience, they know that this is their target audience, and that's who they are marketing towards at this point. So I think it started out as inherent, but I think now that they are typically marketing mainly towards women, that they've seen the success that they've had with hiring women as independent retailers for their multi-level marketing companies.
We've got to go to commercial, but we'll continue this discussion when we come back. Welcome back to Canadian Justice, where we're talking about multi-level marketing or network selling. Mr. Weinberger, there have been some class actions attempted in other countries, most notably in the US, against some network selling multi-level marketing businesses. Now, as far as I can tell, there haven't been any in Canada, but correct me if I'm wrong. So do you think that businesses are just operating better here in Canada? Is it a better regulatory regime, or is it just harder to bring class actions in Canada?
So there have been class actions. The first one that comes to my mind is there was a travel sales company that was deemed to be a Ponzi scheme, and all the independent distributors then sued the company through a class actions. Now, the US is more class actions oriented, typically because they're larger in scale and the defendants are not able to keep their files as close to their brief as they can in the United States. But one of the things that in Canada is different is the rules are far clearer. Our rules are codified in the Competition Act. Our companies have the ability to seek pre-approval from the Competition Bureau in what's known as a written opinion. So you have almost a pseudo license. And so businesses have clear rules, clear regulations to follow. And as such, they typically stay on board more than their American counterparts.
Now, Ms. Matthews, this isn't a new business model. I remember them growing up. My mom's friends selling different things like kitchen supplies or makeup. But it seems like it's really taken off in the last few years. I don't know, is my perception accurate? And if it is growing, what's behind the growth?
Your perception is absolutely accurate. And I think that there's a few different factors. I think the rise in social media and, people looking for jobs online and looking for ways to make extra income from their own home. I think the COVID-19 pandemic has definitely taken a toll as well, because there are many people who lost their incomes or their incomes were, cut in half essentially. And there are a lot of people looking to make easy money from the comfort of their own home, especially if that guarantees them flexible hours and more time with their family. And like I said before, multi-level marketing companies will use that in terms of their marketing towards these independent retailers and, say, be your own boss and make your own hours. So I think that there are a lot of factors as to why it's becoming so much more popular. But I think the COVID-19 pandemic and the rise of social media are definitely two very important factors as to why.
Now, Professor Hasse, I want to touch on something that Kristen just said there. It's the idea of easy money. And I don't think that that's accurate, because I know some people involved in multi-level marketing, and I feel like they're working nonstop. So what type of person do you have to be to succeed in a business like this?
Yeah. So I think, at the end of the day, this is a sales business. Money does not fall from heaven. When you join an organization, you have to do the work. And in this particular business, you are your own business owner. And, you begin with friends and family, not because they're going to make you a millionaire or make you a lot of money. It's because that's who you're going to test drive your selling skills and other things with. And, do you even have the ability to do this or the capacity to do it? But, people who are successful in direct selling, and by successful, I want to be cautious here, is, you are in business for yourself with your own expectations, and who sets those expectations are very important. So there are some people, for example, who join the same network marketing company every year in advance of Christmas so they can make enough money to buy Christmas presents for their family. And then they quit again in January, and they wait again until October, and they join again the next year. And so if you call that success, for them, it's successful. They bought the presents that they wanted to buy, and they took a little bit of time and did that.
Professor Hasse, that's all the time we have, but I want to thank all three of you for your contribution today.
Thank you.
We've heard today about the business model of multi-level marketing or network selling. And for some people, it's been a positive experience. But for others, it's negative, and they've lost rather than made money. Like with any sales job, success can't be guaranteed, and sales work can be inherently risky. Anyone interested in joining this type of business should think carefully about the risks and think realistically about what it will take to achieve success. But what do you think? Are these businesses here to stay? Do they provide good opportunities, or is the risk not worth it? You be the judge. I'm Christine Van Gyn, and remember, a freer Canada starts with you.